During the third attack, Hazel almost ate a boulder. Hi, it's Madeline, and if you can't already tell from the first sentence, I am going to be reviewing The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. Now, if for some reason you do not know about the Heroes of Olympus series or the Percy Jackson series, this is the fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus series, which follows the Percy Jackson and Olympian series. I have a review for the entire series, the Percy Jackson Olympian series, down below. It's my first video, so it's a little weird, so please excuse that. You can click on if you want, I don't really care. But I've also done reviews for the first three books in the series, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, and The Mark of Athena, and I'll also link those down below. But I'm going to be reviewing this. I'll just say, without giving too much away, I really enjoyed this book. I've enjoyed this whole series so far. I've already finished it. Great series. I like the two series just as much. I can't really choose a favorite. They're very good. I gave this book an 88%. I can't really say much more without giving away what happens in the series. So if you're here and you haven't read this book, I don't know why you're here, and you should definitely leave, because I'm going to be talking about everything that goes down in this book, and this is a big book, so we have lots to talk about, lots of sticky notes, so goodbye if you haven't read this book. To my wonderful readers, sorry about that last cliffhanger. Well, no, not really, ha ha ha, but seriously, I love you guys. If you haven't noticed already, Rick Riordan is a complete and utter troll, and we have to deal with it, like on Twitter and just like social medias and in his books. He knows he's a troll and he uses that to his advantage. Like, last book he took the phrase cliffhanger a little bit too seriously. But anyways, let's get into talking about this book. The cover's bent. Kind of stupid humidity. I was really hoping that in this book that we would get Percy or Annabeth's view like right off, because they were falling into Tartarus, for crying out loud. And I just really wanted that, but if you can't tell from the first sentence that I read earlier, we got Hazel's point of view, and I don't mind Hazel's point of view. Like, it's okay. Like, I like Leo's point of view, and I like Percy and Annabeth's point of view. Those are the three that I really like to see. Those are the three that I most enjoy reading. But you know, Hazel and Frank and Jason and Piper, they're fine. Some of them can be just like okay. Like, it's Rick Riordan's writing, so I still really enjoy it, but I just like those three better. So like right off the bat, we begin to see what the difference Percy and Annabeth make with the seven. Like, now that they're gone, everything is kind of in chaos. Not quite, but it's not quite as organized, because they were the leaders of the team, I guess, or the seven. Like, we just realized how much Percy and Annabeth contributed to the team, and we didn't really realize until they were thrown into Tartarus that they were super important. Like, I knew they were very important to begin with, but now we see even more how important, like, just within the first chapter, you can just start to see. And then we also had Hazel's encounter with Hecate, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, but we had her encounter and how she was showing her all these different things in the mist, and then we had this farting polecat thrown in there just for humor. Thank you, Rick Riordan, for that. And then we were told, you know, like, Hazel has to use the mist to her advantage so that she can beat this witch that she's supposed to encounter somewhere along the way in the House of Hades. She has to choose which path to go, so she takes the most dangerous path so she can save Percy and Annabeth, which, thank you for that, Hazel. After we had Hazel's a few chapters out of Tartarus, we finally got to what everyone was looking forward to. We got Annabeth's 4 chapters down in Tartarus, and we had Percy and Annabeth falling into the river that Percy was able to control so they didn't, like, die. And then we had, like, them running into all these monsters. I'll just talk about Tartarus first, and then I'll go to everything that happened outside of Tartarus. But anyways, we had just all these monsters that they had run into, and how they had to drink out of this like fire, like they had to drink fire, and how just everything, they kept running into monster after monster that Percy had already killed, or Annabeth for that matter. And like right off the bat they ran into Kelly the Empusai, however you pronounce them, whatever they're called, and they ran into them, and then we had Bob, the good Titan, come in, and that was thanks to Nico. He talked to him, and he said that, like, Percy was a good guy, and then we had this whole kind of, like, confliction thing with Bob, how he was kind of regaining his memory, because apparently Percy had done something to his memory in the past, and he was kind of having these conflicting things running into the different monsters, but in the end, like, he turned out to be a good guy, and he didn't flip sides or anything. So we had Bob, and then we had Small Bob, this little, like, the little cat from, what book was it? I think it was the 3rd book of the Percy Jackson series. Bob saved them numerous amount of times. Like, if it weren't for him, and if it weren't ultimately for Nico, who had told them about Percy, and that Percy was a good guy, they would have been dead. They would have made it out of Tartarus. Like, no way that would have happened. Just, they were so weak from just falling into Tartarus, and Annabeth from her quest before, and Percy from his quest before. Especially Annabeth, though, because she had the broken ankle, and she had just been through so much by herself. She didn't have any help from anyone. They were just so exhausted, and if it weren't for Bob, like I said, they wouldn't have made it very far at all, because they kept running into so many different monsters and so many different struggles. So, thanks to Bob, we have Bob to thank for them getting out of Tartarus. And then, I believe once it was they defeated some of the monsters and they needed a break, they came across this, like, Hermes statue down in Tartarus, and I guess that apparently had fallen from somewhere, and they had, like, offerings from Camp Half-Blood coming there, and that was very interesting how that worked. I guess it was interesting to see where the offerings actually went. Like, I guess that couldn't have been all the offerings because there would be more Hermes, because there wasn't, like, a ton of food. Well, maybe, I don't know. But it was interesting how it worked either way, because Annabeth figured out that maybe she could send a note that way, and that was very smart. But you can see again and again when we're in Annabeth's point of view, like, especially in her point of view, like, we see it all the time in general, because we know she's smart, but especially in her point of view, we see how smart she really is. And I really love reading smart characters, because they're logical, and I don't have to deal with, like, having to wanting to throw the book across the room because the character made the most stupid decision ever. So I was really glad about that, and I figured that out, and it did eventually get to Rachel. And after that bit of good luck, they had this encounter with Arai or whatever. Those things that when you killed them, they, like, cursed you. And we had, because Percy had encountered so many monsters and everything, there were so many curses, and he was just sick, like, with poison and just so many curses just from everyone. And then there's Calypso's curse in there, and that really hit him, I think, with that, because, like, he said that to the gods to make sure that she could get off the island or whatever, but that hadn't happened, I guess, because he didn't check on her technically. But I guess I don't really blame him, because he forgot his memory and then get caught up in the new war and everything. But from Calypso's point of view, like, it's just another hero coming and going. It's not, like, I can understand why. But, we just had all the curses, and then the two of them, and, like, Percy and Annabeth and Bob, were brought to, this giant's house, Iapetus, I believe, and we learned that how, Gaia and Tartarus, like, sent him to Tartarus to, like, live, because he wasn't as vicious as the other giants. He just wanted to, like, grow his farm, and he had to kill this Draken every single day over and over again, and then he just had to live in this little hut in Tartarus, and that would be just a really depressing life, and we kind of learned about that. And, you know, like, once Percy and Annabeth started to get better and they had to go leave, and he said, and Annabeth figured out that they needed him to come because Foes bears arm to the doors of death. That part of that line in the prophecy, she figured that out. And he said, no, he's gonna stay here. Like, I thought it was really obvious that he was gonna show up at the end. Like, I didn't doubt for a second that he wasn't going to show up. So I was right about the end with, like, Tartarus and everything. I'll get to that later. And after that encounter, Bob and Percy and Annabeth and Small Bob went on to find someone to help them with the death mist. The whole mist thing kind of confused me, and I'll go more onto that later with Hazel and all that. And, like, I guess that kind of made them camouflage in, and they needed help from the goddess of misery, Aklis. I don't know how to pronounce her name. All these Greek names I don't know how to pronounce. How she began to try and kill Percy and Beth with the poison, and Bob was off somewhere, so he couldn't help with them. And how Percy started controlling the poison to save it. Like, I guess, I know a lot of people think that's kind of like freaky or whatever, it's like a dark side, but what did you expect? He's in Tartarus, and like you can't have something like that happen to your character and then them not have any consequences, or you can't have, like, it's going to affect them in one way or another. And I don't think, Percy, his heart is still in the right place. I think he'll be fine. I don't think it's anything really to worry about. Like, sure, he might be a little bit darker after he gets into Tartarus, because it's Tartarus, it's hell. He literally went through hell and back. So, you know, what do you expect? After that, we ran into night, and this whole scene was fairly funny with, like, the brochure, and, like, they were going on this tour of Tartarus. And then how, like, afterwards, they wanted to take a picture with, like, Night and, like, her favorite child, so they were all, like, competing, and then Annabeth, like, just the talking thing, like, just talking, using the pride against them works so well. It's happened so many times throughout the series. All Night's, like, sons and daughters turn everything black, and then they escape, and they're running through, I don't really know. I was kind of confused. I don't really know what Tartarus looks like, so it would be interesting to have a map, but I don't know. But anyways, they're running through, and they finally made it to the Doors of Death, and, you know, that was really great, really good for them. And then when they started, you know, like, killing off the monsters and stuff, you get Tartarus showing up, like, Tartarus himself in, like, a humanoid form. Then we get the giant that we encountered earlier riding in onto the dragon that he tamed, and awesomeness happened. Like, we were fighting off with Bob and Small Bob, who transformed into, like, this tiger, and then Percy and Annabeth finally got up into the elevator. So yeah, Bob and the giant, like, sacrificed themselves for them too, and I think they hadn't even known them that long, and that was just very nice. And how Annabeth was like, we'll tell people about your story and everything like that. Hi, I've decided to make this review into a two-part video because it was getting really long, so I've come back and re-edited it. And so this is going to be the first part, and then the second part of this review is going to be in a second video, and I'm going to be talking about everything, like, Enter Tartarus, and then, like, the end of the book. So once I get that up, I will link it down below in the description, so once you finish watching this, you can go ahead and watch that if you want to. So this is the end of this. I hope to see you next time. Bye.